Thomas Wade had been living quietly in the old Riverside neighborhood for 3 years now. At 52, the former Army medic had seen enough chaos in his life. These days, he preferred the simple rhythm of morning walks with his German Shepherd, Rex, and the peace of tending his small garden. Rex wasn't just a companion. The 7-year-old Shepherd had been with Thomas since his last deployment overseas. They'd been through tough times together, and somehow, that dog always seemed to know when Thomas needed him most. It was a Tuesday evening in late autumn when everything changed. Thomas had just finished dinner and was settling into his worn leather armchair with a book when Rex's ears perked up. The dog moved to the window, a low whine building in his throat. "What is it, boy?" Thomas asked, setting his book aside. Rex barked sharply, then again, more insistent this time. Thomas rose and looked outside. At first, he saw nothing unusual in the twilight. Then he noticed it. A faint orange glow coming from the house across the street. The Henderson place. Smoke was beginning to curl from beneath the eaves. His training kicked in immediately. Thomas grabbed his phone, dialed 911, and was already moving toward his front door as he spoke to the dispatcher. "There's a house fire at 247 Maple Street," he said, his voice steady despite his racing heart. "I'm going to check if anyone's inside." He didn't wait for a response. Rex was already at his side as they ran across the quiet street. The Hendersons were a young family. Thomas knew they had a little girl, maybe 4 or 5 years old. He'd seen her playing in the yard with her mother on weekends. The father traveled for work, he recalled. As he reached the front yard, the smoke was thicker now. Thomas could see flames beginning to lick at the windows on the first floor. He pounded on the front door. "Hello, anyone inside? Fire department is on the way." No answer. But then Rex barked urgently and pulled toward the side of the house. "What do you hear, Rex?" The dog barked again, insistent, focused on something Thomas couldn't yet perceive. Thomas trusted that instinct. He followed Rex around to the side door, testing the handle. Locked. Through the window, he could see the hallway filling with smoke. And then he heard it too. A child crying, faint but unmistakable. He didn't hesitate. Using his elbow and a rock from the garden, he broke the window, cleared the glass, and climbed through. Rex followed immediately. The smoke burned his eyes and throat. Thomas pulled his shirt up over his nose and dropped low, where the air was clearer. Rex stayed close, his powerful nose leading them forward. "Keep talking, sweetheart," Thomas called out. "I'm coming to get you." They found her in the living room, pressed against the far wall, clutching a teddy bear. She couldn't have been more than 4 years old, with blonde hair and tear-streaked cheeks. Her pink dress was smudged with soot. "It's okay, honey," Thomas said, keeping his voice calm as he reached her. "I'm here to help. This is Rex. He's a good dog, and we're going to get you out." The little girl's blue eyes were wide with fear, but she nodded. Thomas scooped her up in his arms, holding her tight against his chest. "Close your eyes and hold on," he told her gently. The flames had spread faster than he'd expected. The doorway they'd entered through was now blocked. Thomas's mind raced, calculating, remembering his training. The front door. They had to try the front door. Rex led the way, barking to guide them through the thickening smoke. Thomas could hear the fire roaring now, could feel its heat pressing against them. Embers fell like deadly snow. His lungs burned. The child coughed against his shoulder. But Thomas kept moving, one foot in front of the other, following Rex's dark shape through the chaos. They reached the front hallway. The door was ahead, and through the smoke, Thomas could see the glow of streetlights beyond. Freedom, safety. He tried the handle, locked from the inside, but he managed to turn the deadbolt with shaking fingers. The door swung open, and they burst out into the cool evening air. Thomas carried the little girl across the lawn and set her down on the grass, away from the house. She was coughing but breathing. Rex stood guard beside them, panting heavily. "You're safe now," Thomas said softly, checking her over. No burns that he could see, just smoke inhalation and terror. "What's your name, sweetheart?" "Ma," she whispered, clutching her teddy bear tighter. "Ma, that's a beautiful name. I'm Thomas, and this is Rex." "You were very brave in there." Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder. Neighbors had begun to emerge from their houses, drawn by the commotion. An older woman Thomas recognized from down the street hurried over. "Oh my lord, is she all right?" "Where's Jennifer?" the mother, Thomas asked. "Yes, Jennifer Caldwell. She and Emma live there." "Jennifer must still be at work." "She's always working late." Thomas nodded, relief washing over him. At least they wouldn't have to search the burning house for anyone else. The fire trucks arrived moments later, their red lights painting the street in urgent colors. Paramedics rushed over to check Emma while firefighters began battling the blaze. Thomas sat on the curb, Rex beside him, watching as they worked. His hands were shaking now, the adrenaline beginning to fade. A paramedic checked him over, gave him oxygen, praised him for his quick action. It was almost an hour before a sleek black car pulled up to the scene. A woman in a business suit jumped out, her face pale with panic. Ma," she cried out. "Mom!" The little girl broke away from the neighbor who'd been holding her and ran into her mother's arms. Jennifer Caldwell dropped to her knees on the sidewalk, pulling her daughter close, tears streaming down her face. For a long moment, she just held Emma, rocking her gently, whispering words Thomas couldn't hear. Finally, she looked up, her eyes finding Thomas where he sat on the curb. She walked over slowly, still holding Emma's hand. Up close, Thomas could see she was in her mid-30s, with the same blonde hair as her daughter, though hers was pulled back in a professional bun that had come partially loose. Her eyes were red from crying. "You saved her," Jennifer said, her voice breaking. "They told me you ran into my burning house and saved my baby." Thomas stood, feeling suddenly awkward. "Anyone would have done the same, ma'am." "No," Jennifer said firmly. "Not anyone. Most people would have waited for the fire department. You risked your life." She looked down at Rex. "Both of you did." Rex's tail wagged slightly, and Emma reached out to pet his head. "Rex is a hero," the little girl said softly. "He found me when I was scared." Jennifer knelt down again, this time to scratch Rex behind the ears. "Thank you," she whispered to the dog. Then she stood and looked at Thomas. "I don't even know your name." Thomas Wade. "Ma'am, I live across the street." Jennifer Caldwell. She extended her hand, and he shook it. "Thomas, I don't have words. You gave me back my daughter. How can I ever thank you?" "No thanks needed," Thomas said quietly. "I'm just glad we got there in time." But Jennifer shook her head. "I will thank you, and properly. Right now, I need to get Emma checked out at the hospital, but I'm coming back. I promise you that." True to her word, Jennifer appeared at Thomas's door the very next morning. When he opened it, he found her standing there with Emma, both of them looking much better than they had the night before. Emma was wearing a yellow dress and held a large drawing in her hands. "Good morning," Jennifer said. "I hope we're not too early." "Not at all," Thomas replied. Rex appeared at his side, and Emma immediately smiled. "I made you something," Emma said shyly, holding up her drawing. It showed a stick figure man, a dog, and a little girl, all holding hands. Above them, she'd written in careful letters, "Thank you." Thomas felt a lump form in his throat. "This is wonderful, Emma." "Thank you. I'm going to put this right on my refrigerator." "May we come in?" Jennifer asked. "I'd like to talk to you." Thomas showed them into his modest living room. It was clean but sparse, furnished with the basics and little else. Jennifer didn't seem to notice or care. "Ma, why don't you play with Rex in the yard?" Jennifer suggested. "I saw he has some toys out there." "Can I, Mr. Thomas?" Emma asked. "Of course." Rex loves visitors. Once Emma and Rex had gone outside, Jennifer sat down across from Thomas. She reached into her purse and pulled out an envelope. "Thomas, I meant what I said. I need to thank you properly." She held out the envelope. "That's really not necessary," Thomas began. "Please," Jennifer interrupted gently. "Just listen for a moment. Do you know what I do for a living?" Thomas shook his head. "I'm the CEO of Caldwell Pharmaceuticals. My late husband founded the company, and when he passed 4 years ago, I took over. Emma is everything to me. She's all I have left of him." Her voice wavered slightly. "When I got that call last night, when they told me there was a fire and Emma was inside, I thought I'd lost her too." She pressed the envelope into his hands. "This is just a start. Inside is a check. It won't replace what you did, but I want you to have it, please." Thomas opened the envelope. The check was for $50,000. "I can't accept this," he said immediately, trying to hand it back. "You can, and you will," Jennifer said firmly. "Thomas, I don't know your situation, and I'm not trying to pry, but please, let me do this, for my own peace of mind, if nothing else." Thomas looked at the check again, thinking of his old truck that barely ran, the roof that needed repairs, the medical bills from his last VA appointment that he'd been slowly paying off. "I'm also offering you a job," Jennifer continued. "I need a new head of security for my company. Someone I can trust. Someone with your background and your character. The salary would be $120,000 a year, plus full benefits." Thomas stared at her, stunned. "Ma'am, I don't know what to say." "Say you'll think about it," Jennifer said with a small smile. "I've learned to be a good judge of character in my business. I saw something in you last night. The way you stayed calm, took charge, saved my daughter without a second thought for yourself. That's rare." She stood to leave, then paused. "There's one more thing. The fire marshal says the fire started from faulty wiring. The house is a total loss. We're staying in a hotel right now while I figure things out." "I'm sorry," Thomas said. "Don't be. Houses can be rebuilt. My daughter can't be replaced." She smiled. "Think about my offer, Thomas, and cash that check. You earned it." After they left, Thomas sat alone in his living room for a long time, the check in his hand, Emma's drawing on his lap. Rex came and laid his head on Thomas's knee, and Thomas scratched behind the dog's ears. "What do you think, boy?" he asked quietly. "Did we just get lucky, or did we make our own luck?" Rex's tail thumped against the floor. Thomas smiled. For the first time in years, he felt something he'd almost forgotten: hope. "Sometimes," he thought. Life gives you a chance to be who you're meant to be. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, someone notices and gives you a chance to keep being that person. He looked at Emma's drawing again, at the three stick figures holding hands. "Thank you," it said. But Thomas knew the truth. The thanks went both ways. Sometimes the greatest gifts come not from what we receive, but from what we're able to give.